Welcome to Informed Tourist AI. This is Curtis here, your traveling guru. Let's talk about those worst towns in America lists, especially the ones that always target California. Every week it seems like a new headline warns us about places like Stockton or Oakland, painting them as no-go zones. But is that really fair? Headlines don't capture what it's like to actually walk those streets. Sure, some cities face real challenges, crime, poverty, but they're also full of culture, great food, and people working to make things better. Labeling a whole city as the worst is just too simple. What does worst even mean for a traveler? Is it about safety, boredom, or just a lack of things to do? Sometimes a so-called dangerous city is more interesting than a safe but empty town. So let's look past the headlines and dig deeper. Because every place has a story, and travel is about discovering the humanity in all of them. Ready to challenge the easy answers? Let's go. Why do cities like Compton, Stockton, and Oakland always make the worst lists? It's partly history, partly media. Negative stories get repeated and reputations stick, even if they're outdated. These lists rely on stats like crime or unemployment, but numbers don't tell you what a city feels like. A high crime rate doesn't mean every neighborhood is unsafe, or that there's nothing worth seeing. Most writers making these lists have never even visited. They're just chasing clicks with scary headlines. They miss the real city, the food, the art, the people. Oakland has a gorgeous lake and a thriving art scene. Stockton is a gateway to nature. The real question isn't, is this city on a list, but what can I experience here and how can I do it safely? Don't let a reputation stop you from finding something amazing. The reality is always more interesting than the headline. So what actually makes a town a bad experience for travelers? It's not just crime, boredom is a big one. If there's nothing to do, even the safest town can feel like a dead end. Lack of basic services, no decent food, nowhere to stay, no gas, can make a place tough to visit. Safety matters, but it's about how a place feels, not just stats. An empty, deserted town can feel just as unsettling as a crowded one. Sometimes a town is struggling after a disaster or economic collapse. The mood is somber and services are stretched thin. These places deserve compassion, but they might not be ready for visitors looking for a fun getaway. The worst towns for travelers aren't always the ones with the worst headlines. They're the ones that feel empty, unwelcoming, or just plain hard to enjoy. It's about the vibe, the energy, and whether you can find something to connect with. Every traveler's worst is different. The key is to look for what makes a place unique, not just what's missing. Let's leave California for a minute and look at other parts of America that rarely make the travel blogs. The Rust Belt, once booming with industry, now full of towns like Gary, Indiana, and East St. Louis, Illinois, left with empty factories and shrinking populations. These places aren't dangerous in the usual sense, but they're marked by economic loss and a sense of fading. In the Midwest, small towns struggle as young people leave and main streets go quiet. Some are so isolated it feels like time stopped. Even the beautiful Pacific Northwest has towns like Forks, Washington, surrounded by nature but worn down by lost industries. Here, worst isn't about crime, but about emptiness, struggle, and survival. For travelers, these places can feel haunting or sad, but they're also full of stories. The contrast between natural beauty and human hardship is striking. These towns challenge our idea of what a bad place looks like. Sometimes the hardest places are the most revealing. There's more to America than the headlines. Let's get specific. Greensburg, Kansas, almost wiped out by a tornado in 2007. For a while it was nothing but rubble and heartbreak. East St. Louis, Illinois, once a thriving city, now known for poverty and crime after decades of decline and neglect. Forks, Washington, before twilight it was a forgotten logging town, isolated and struggling to survive. Each of these towns represents a different kind of worst, disaster, economic collapse, or just being left behind. But their stories are more than statistics. They're about resilience, reinvention, and hope. Greensburg rebuilt as a model green town. East St. Louis is home to people fighting for their community every day. Forks found new life through pop culture. None of these places are on the usual California list, but their challenges are real, and so are their comebacks. When you travel, you see that worst is complicated. Every town has a story worth hearing. Sometimes the most troubled places teach us the most. Don't just read the headlines, listen to the people. So why don't these towns make the worst lists as often as California cities? Media bias? Big cities get more attention because their names are familiar and their stories are easy to sensationalize. The struggles of small towns like slow economic decline are harder to explain in a headline. Our culture is conditioned to picture bad as urban decay, not quiet, empty streets. The lists focus on crime stats, not on the pain of a shrinking town or a lost industry. But for the people living there, those struggles are just as real. Stuck in a boring town? Here's how to make the most of it. Change your mindset. Look for what's unique, not what's missing. Talk to locals. They're the real attraction, and they know the hidden gems. Check out the local paper or community Facebook page for events and festivals. Walk around, notice the old buildings, gardens, and small details you'd miss by car. Ask questions. What's the best pie in town? Where's the prettiest sunset? Local pride often hides in unexpected places. The best experiences are often simple. A diner breakfast, a quiet park, a story from a stranger. Slow down, explore, and you'll find treasures you never expected. Every town has something to offer if you're willing to look. Broken places can be beautiful in their own way. Abandoned factories and empty streets tell stories of survival and change. For photographers and history lovers, these are gold mines of character and memory. But the real beauty is in the people, those who stay, rebuild, and create. Struggle often sparks creativity. Street art, music, and community projects thrive in tough times. The art here is raw and honest, a direct line to the soul of the place. Visiting these towns isn't about pity, it's about witnessing resilience and hope. The most inspiring travel moments come from seeing how people fight for their home. There's beauty in the cracks if you're willing to look. Take Cairo, Illinois, often called a ghost town, with crumbling buildings and a shrinking population. The headlines say it's hopeless, but walk its streets and you'll find stunning architecture and fierce local pride. Talk to residents, and you'll hear stories you won't find online. Gary, Indiana is another example, famous for abandoned buildings but also for its music history and proximity to beautiful dunes. It's the birthplace of the Jackson 5 and sits next to Indiana Dunes National Park. Visit with an open mind and you'll see both the struggle and the beauty. These cities challenge us to see beyond decay and find value in history, art, and community. The problems are real, but so are the stories and the hope. Don't let headlines define your experience. Sometimes the most memorable trips are to places everyone else has given up on. Camden, New Jersey was once called America's worst city, plagued by poverty and crime. But cities can change. In the last decade, Camden's crime rate has dropped, new businesses have arrived, and the waterfront is now a destination. The Adventure Aquarium, concert venues, and parks draw visitors from all over. Camden's story proves that no place is a lost cause. With investment and community effort, even the most troubled city can turn around. For travelers, it's a reminder. Reputations can change, and so can your experience. Don't write off a place based on old headlines. The worst city of yesterday might be tomorrow's comeback story. Camden shows that hope and hard work can rewrite a city's future. Give places a second look, you might be surprised. Every city deserves a chance to tell a new story. So what have we learned? Worst is personal. For some, it's a lack of luxury. For others, it's a lack of history or connection. The real adventure starts when you ignore the lists and follow your curiosity. Visit places with bad reputations and see them for yourself. Look for hidden beauty, talk to locals, and make your own memories. Be smart, do your research and stay safe, but don't let fear make your choices. The best travel stories come from unexpected places. Challenge stereotypes, seek out untold stories, and visit towns you've never heard of. Eat at the local diner, talk to someone new, and see what you discover. Your favorite travel memory might come from a forgotten town, not a famous city. Adventure is about being open to places, people, and surprises. Go find your own story. Now it's your turn. What's the place that surprised you? Did you visit a town with a bad reputation and find something wonderful? Maybe you met someone who changed your mind or stumbled on the best pie of your life. These moments are what make travel magical. They teach us empathy and curiosity. Share your story in the comments. Let's build a community of travelers who look beyond the headlines. I look forward to hearing about your experiences and the discoveries you've made. Thank you for watching Informed Tourist. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps me out and makes me feel appreciated for what I do. Now, check out this next video. Safe travels.